We're going to get started with masculine headspace. We are going to be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot right now for the headspace of masculine. Can I please have 3 cards, please, for masculine? 1, 2, 3. Oh, we got 4 cards again. This happened the other day. We're going to continue to read for them because that's what we do. We are starting our day off here with the 9 of Swords in its reversal, the 3 of Swords in its reversal, a lot of sword cards, the 7 of Wands in its upright, as well as the Queen, as well as the High Priestess in its reversal. So let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing in these cards right now. One of the things that's very important, and I'm going to keep on articulating this energy that we're currently experiencing, is working through the modality of the fact that we're not going through a Venus in retrograde cycle, but it feels very proximate to one. The proximity that we have right now of Venus tucked between Mercury behind it and Mars before it can create a lot of energetic frustrations that can come up in relationality to where we are. Right? It's allowing the context of understanding and not allowing ourselves to get too farsighted. And when I say farsighted, I mean the space by which we get really hard on ourselves because we feel like we have a long way to go. Often when we're in energy like this, the most important thing that we can do is look, and I want to describe this because this is talking to us about the beauty of what the past can really do when we're holding on to it appropriately, right? The past helps us in the space that we're holding on to it in relationality to feeling the sense of being able to chart our own path of progress, right? The modality of understanding that when we're moving with a sense of proportionality, the ability to have that, and this is what we can also get right now with the fact that we also see that the moon is in Libra, the ability to effectively see how far we've come is often a better indicator of our progress than how far we have to go, because the modality by which we often feel frustrated in terms of what we aspire for, right? This is how we find the sense of building into the context of navigating through our own sense of bliss, right? And we don't rush processes, right? We navigate the space of feeling energetically stabilized and steady in terms of where we find ourselves, right? This is what we talk about in the modality of being energetically peaceful, because peacefulness is not the space by which you don't find peace, right? And you'll notice this. Often those that feel like they're searching for peace never find it. We bring peace with us. And that modality by which we're able to effectively navigate situations and circumstances with a sense of clarity, calm, and determination allows us to build into the proportionality as it relates to what it is that we are articulating in terms of what we're energetically seeking. So we see that a lot of the masculine energy here that's working in the context of healing, and it's interesting too, because we have a lot of thought in relationality to feminine here as well. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. But the modality of identifying, and this is what we see especially with that high priestess in its reversal, it's a continuation of the conversation in understanding the difference between coveting and protectiveness, right? Because protectiveness is when we effectively amplify and articulate, and we build that sense of conscientiousness in relationality to honoring one another's choices, right? The modality by which we're able to effectively articulate and move through things with a sense of reason and proportionality, the modality that we build with healthy counterpart connection should always feel like we're energetically protective of an energetic connection, but not feeling the need of the energy that needs protecting. Because the modality by which we identify this, I keep on getting, it's working through removing the accutation of counterpart. And what happens when you're working through the accutation of counterpart? The modality by which you feel like you have to make another's decisions for them is the modality by which you don't see someone as an energetic equal. I'm going to say that again. The modality by which you feel like you have to make decisions for another person is the modality by which you're literally articulating the space by which you do not see someone as an equal. The modality by which we identify that love is honoring choices is the space by which we're energetically respective of our choices. And that modality of understanding that the way that we work through choices is in the context of being able to articulate and identify and honoring each other's wishes, so long as our wishes don't come at the cost of one of each other, right? So long as the modality by which we articulate something that does not hurt another, it's the experience by which we articulate and define what it is that we have our cart towards. And that's why we talk about love being so difficult, right? Like, this is what we mean when we talk about love isn't just about getting what you want. That's indulgent. That's indulgence, right? And so I literally see a lot of the masculine energy working through this, like helping, potentially even helping other masculine energy in understanding the difference between love and desire, right? Because desire is just wanting things, right? Desire is just articulating the fact that you want something. But love is being energetically respective of another's desires. See how that works? Right? So, and what happens in that modality, and I keep on seeing this, like that experience or that modality of being able to articulate and amplify and define that, we see that for a lot of the energy that is working through that, it's identifying and building into that sense of healthy empathy, right? The modality and the experience. And I keep on seeing for some of the energy, working through, and it's hard because I feel like a lot of that masculine energy is working on shedding lessons, right? They're working on shedding lessons. They're working on letting go of false perceptions, even potentially false perceptions that they were given in relationality to what it means to be masculine. Masculine energy carries masculine within them everywhere they go. Masculine is defining masculinity in every energetic choice one makes, right? And the modality by which someone creates the false misconception that one must arrive to masculinity, right, is the understanding that you don't need to arrive to something that is energetically within you. You are the energetic template. So for a lot of the energy working through that capacity, even letting go, right? Like letting go of the identification point of the fact that masculinity is a bar that one has to reach, but understanding that you are the energetic bar, right? That you are the bar allows the context by which you get to determine how that appears or what that is, how that is energetically translated. So I see that for a lot of the energy, that is what the work is, right? It's the energy letting go of the bar and saying, I am the bar, right? It's not trying to reach for it. It's working towards energetically embodying it. And so that is a lot of the work. And this is also masculine healing from feminine experiences by which they felt unmasculated. And I keep on saying this is why, right? This is why we don't set templates to each other, right? The modality by which we understand and we energetically welcome each other is the understanding that that is how we raise the bar higher, right? We don't raise the bar higher by reaching for it. We raise the bar higher by becoming who we are meant to be. So I feel like that's a lot of the energy working through those modalities or experiences by which they felt, and I keep on hearing, by which they felt. And this is often why we talk about the and I keep on hearing like the false mirror effect of working through a bunch of energy that's embodying something, trying to determine what another energy wants. And in the modality of trying to determine what another energy wants is just fulfilling their own fantasies of what they believe the others perceive about them, right? It's literally like masculinity. When masculinity comes into that space, it's basically like collective navel gazing, right? It's the admiration of the masculine energy by the masculine energy, rather than building. The way you understand what masculine energy is through empathy. It's through empathy. It's through articulating to another and saying, tell me what you aspire for masculine to be. And this brings us to feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. Can I please get 3 cards to clarify? And we're going to be utilizing for feminine right now the Tarot del Fuego. Can I please get 3 cards for feminine? 1, 2, 3. We've got the Sun card in its reversal. We've got the Knight of Wands in its upright. And we've got the Four of Pentacles in its reversal. Very different energy right now for feminine. Very different energy right now for feminine. There's a lot of, there's a lot of energetic fire here coming through. And I want to point out healthy fire, and it has to do with navigating the space. I keep wondering, navigating the space of our sacred rage. Being healed does not mean that you don't have feelings. And I need to stress this. And I feel like a lot of the feminine energy is working through this, the false spirituality that articulates that if you are highly spiritual, you stop caring. Right? This is something that we've been seeing that's coming through a lot right now through the collective energy, right? The modality of understanding the difference between forgiveness and leniency. And what is the difference between forgiveness and leniency? Forgiveness is, there's 2 words to forgiveness, right? There's for, which means for, ahead, right? And there's giving, which is giving forth, right? And so the identification between the difference between leniency and forgiveness is the modality by which something changes, right? This is why we say you don't need to forgive everything, because when you forgive everything, there's a false conception that forgiveness means forgetting. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, because when you forget, right, when someone says forgive me, but what they're really saying is forget, is the modality by which they say I'm not going to change. But if you're embodying feminine correctly, then you'll just forget that happened. Right? The modality of feminine recognizing that forgiveness is not forgetfulness. But often there are those that try to articulate that feminine is not being feminine if they're not being forgetful enough, right? The understanding that unhealed energy seeks a non-entity. Forgiveness is the architecture of understanding. It's a 2-part system. That's why the word forgive exists. For, right, you have the observation of what it is going forward, and give, something that is being given to the self, something that another person gives us that allows the context of something changing in the future. So the modality of the energy reconnecting to the true word of forgiveness is the observation that forgiveness is not forgetfulness. It's a bond. It's a bond that occurs between 2 people in relationality to someone that articulates, right, for the identification of accountability by which they understand that something needs to be changed, the foreknowledge of understanding what is going to be different in the future, and the giving forth that articulates upon the space by which another person is actively working to energetically change it. And so I just keep on hearing in the headspace of the feminine, forgiveness is not forgetfulness. But energy that's unhealed will try to articulate that forgiveness is forgetfulness, because leniency is the space by which one says you should just allow that to happen over and over and over again. And when we are building into healthy standards, we understand that forgiveness is not forgetfulness. And in fact, the identification point of seeing changes is why we become forgiving, because it's the modality by which we understand that forgiveness is a 2-part system. It requires mutual effort. It requires the capacity of someone to be able to change, and it requires the allowance of a discretion. The allowance of a discretion, which is the modality of saying the understanding that something happened, but allowing the context by which you move forward for the opportunity for another person to reclaim that by doing something energetically different towards it. So for a lot of the energy right now, that modality of understanding that, I feel like I see a lot of energy like working into, right, the context of healthy forgiveness. And what is healthy forgiveness? The context of seeing those two factors operating, versus situations and circumstances by which another person is trying to come towards them, claiming to aspire for forgiveness, but really asking for energetic leniency, not being in the space of actually energetically changing. So that's why I keep on hearing it's healthy energetic fire, because it's the energy that feels the sense of being able to be upset if another person does not get that. Now, this brings us to non-binary energy. And what do we see in non-binary energy right now? Can I get 3 cards, please? And we're going to be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck right now for the headspace of non-binary. 3 cards, please. 2, 3. Thank you. We've got here the 9 of Cups in its upright, the Wheel of Fortune in its reversal, and I do believe, I have to look back, but I'm pretty certain that we had the Wheel of Fortune in its reversal literally in the same space last time we read for the non-binary headspace. I'll have to confirm that. Page of Cups, which has been coming up a lot. It's been coming up a lot, and we're going to talk about it a little bit because, this is what Tarot Church is about, trying to destigmatize the cards. I noticed that like the Page of Cups gets a lot of flack. Okay? The Page of Cups gets a lot of flack as a card. Okay? The Page of Cups gets a lot of flack as a card. There are those that perceive the Page of Cups as a flaky card. But I need to understand, and I've been trying to explain this every time it's been coming up, is the Page of Cups is a card that is very different, entirely depending upon what cards are next to it. And so the funny thing is, when we had this in yesterday's reading too, you'll remember the Page of Cups came up with like a lot of good cards around. I believe yesterday we had the Page of Cups coming up with like a Tower card in its reversal, in combination with, I think, again, like a Wheel of Fortune in its reversal, which is like it's pushing against doom energy. It's like the energy that's like doom, 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 and being like, absolutely not, right? Don't come in here. Like the modality by which we articulate that the way we choose to energetically carry something is a choice. And this is why we talk about there's nothing sillier in the world. There's absolutely nothing sillier in the world than matching energy with any single person on the planet, right? Because what will someone without standards do? Right? Someone without standards will come towards you being absolutely their worst version of self. And then what do? You match them. And then what does that person go? That person has no integrity. Right? Because it's the modality by which you recognize or identify the space by which, if all it takes to move one away from integrity is coming towards someone in the most like ridiculous way possible, right? It's the understanding that integrity is how we choose to energetically receive things. Like that's all there is to it. I know it stinks. I know it sometimes feels counter oppositional, right? I know it often requires the space, but by which it's like the refinement system by which you'd have to take someone's trash and turn it into treasure. But yeah, guess what? That's what a healthy spiritual journey is. I know it's like, but then this is also the space by which we understand. This is also why that doesn't mean, and a continuation of connecting to the feminine energy, doesn't mean that you put up with everything, right? Doesn't mean that you put up with everything. It doesn't mean that you put up with everything, because it's the modality and experience of understanding that the work that we do in that context is being able to articulate and amplify why something is energetically important versus looking at another person. And I want to say this, like this is almost like a sad energy that happens with this Page of Cups with a Wheel of Fortune in front of it and a 9 of Cups, because that's almost like the modality by which someone comes towards you in a mean way and you just look at them and go, who hurt you? Who hurt you? Like where did you get the identification point that it was okay to be in that modality or capacity? That observation of being able to work through something, but not just work through something, the understanding of being able to articulate and and not even in the space of articulating, but in the modality by which we are able to effectively come through into a point and almost say to another, like, I see what you're energetically doing. It's cute, but it's not funny, right? Like that's the type of energy that we effectively see there, right? Almost like the energy that like works through the context of seeing another silliness. But even in the modality by which they see another silliness, like working through the energetic frustration upon it, because the sad truth is everything is energetically accountable. Everything is energetically accountable. And the modality by which I see a lot of that non-binary energy connected to spirit being like, when there's silliness here, It doesn't go energetically unobserved. And that's the sad truth of it. The hurt that happens here, it continues. And the modality by which the energy recognizes that, like that's a lot of the energy that almost articulates and says, like, works through the grief, like works through the energetic grief of seeing another person energetically condemn themselves for all, I keep wondering, energetically condemning oneself for a long period of time just for the sake of being petty. That's a sad thing to see, is what I keep on seeing. And that's the type of, that's the type of, like, that's the type of energy that I'm picking up in that modality, right? Hurts to see it, but allowing for the context by which we are able to effectively observe it, that leaves us in the modality by which we're able to articulate the full meaning of how important something is. Moving back towards masculine energy. 3 cards, please. We're going to be utilizing the Tarot del Fuego right now for the heart space of masculine. 2, 3. We've got here the Queen of Swords in its reversal. We've got here the Star card in its upright. And we've also got here the 5 of Cups in its upright. So for a lot of the energy that we're seeing right now, a lot of that heart space of masculine, I just keep on seeing that there's a lot of that energy that is working through. And I keep on getting this, like and it's interesting too, because this was coming through a lot for feminine energy, and we see that it's moving a lot into masculine. The understanding of recognizing what integrity means is the modality by which we let go of comparison, right? Comparison is, I keep wondering, not only is comparison the thief of joy, comparison is the detriment of integrity. Comparison is the detriment of integrity, because the modality by which, and this is what's interesting about it, like the when we say comparison is the detriment of integrity, is if it all it takes is the modality by which another person says something is okay that you yourself know is not okay, right? That is the energy of lacking energetic integrity, right? The modality by which we work through something and the space by which we navigate it with a sense of proportionality. I keep on seeing, and this is what I meant about the inner child healing, that a lot of the masculine energy is working through. That modality or that experience of recognizing and understanding that when we are working through the pathwork of the self, inner child healing does not mean the person that you were when you were a little tiny thing. It is the person that you were before you realized that you didn't know everything. This is the fallacy of being an unhealed energetic child, right? The unhealed energy, the higher self that is an inner child understands that there is always more to learn, right? And we never lose that desire to understand more, because that is the modality by which we energetically arrive here, right? We're supposed to be in the modality by which we're perpetually learning, we're perpetually growing. But the rigidity that happens, right? This is what we talk about with inner child healing. The modality by which we say, I'm done, right? I did it. I don't need to learn anything anymore. I've figured it all out. You're probably off your pathwork, because and you're probably going to make a very, like, you're probably in the modality by which you're going to make decisions because you're working upon the ego that is too large, right? Because what happens when the ego gets too big? There's no getting through to it. It feels like it knows everything. This is often what we recognize when we're doing that work of Jupiter healing, like Jupiter in Cancer in retrograde, right? It's the understanding, and it doesn't require the space by which you don't get rid of your ego entirely. It's also really dangerous to say you don't have an ego, because guess what? I hate to break it to you, like we learned this with Cancerian cycles. You get rid of your ego, there's another ego underneath it. A streamlined ego matches very much what's without is within. The inside is the outside. It's streamlined to fit the soul. It's the understanding that we work towards finding that energetic balance. And the modality by which the more that we're able to find that modality of being our highest self and our best self is often the beautiful wonder that it has in relationality to building connections. You want a relationship. Don't try to be something that you're not. Be more of who you are, but make sure that what's within you is purified. Make sure that there are good things in there. Because the modality by which you work to understand the self, when somebody builds into relationship, they say it's an absolute joy to know that person. And this is why we talk about the difference between not being self-centered, but being centered in self, which is the understanding that working on making sure that the sanctuary of the self has good things inside of it is the best gift that you can bring to counterpart relationship, because it doesn't feel like we're perpetually in the space of feeling like we need to hide ourselves from the person that we're in connection with. It's a space by which we're perpetually in a state of beautiful, blissful opening, right? The modality by which we always find more because there's always more to explore. So I see that a lot of the energy is working into the context of being their best self, being their most authentic self. And in the space by which our words are blessed, because as we communicate who our best self is, it allows the ability that others are able to energetically connect with us, but trying to heal and forgive themselves for modalities or experiences that made them feel like they had to tuck the person that they really were away in some small part of the self. Instead of letting that, because when you tuck that person away, you find yourself in experience that you don't feel energetically connected to. You say, who am I? Where am I? How did I get here? Because you don't recognize yourself in the journey of trying to appease all of the energetic demands of the world instead of following your heart to its desired destination. Feminine energy, moving towards feminine, we're going to be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot for the heart space of, actually, we're going to be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck for the heart space of feminine right now. 3 cards, please. Thank you. We've got the 6 of Wands in its reversal. This card's been coming up a lot as well today. We've got the Hangman in its reversal. And we've got the King of Cups in its upright. And this is the energy talking towards aspiration. And this is a lot of the feminine healing, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. This is the feminine continuing to do the work to understand that if you want a healthy manifestation goal, change how you speak. When you are working through a healthy manifestation goal, we change how we speak, right? And it has a lot to do with not building into a state of hopelessness. And what do we mean by the modality by which we talk about a state of hopelessness? The modality by which we hold and aspire, feminine holds the energetic standard, right? The modality by which the feminine holds the standard. But when you build into a standard of hopelessness, you cannot articulate that you're looking for healthy counterpart and then say, I give up on an entire space, right? The modality by which you have to hold hope as you move towards a manifestation goal, because if not, you're giving the universe oppositional directions. You can't say, I'm looking for the perfect counterpart, but I've decided that everything out there is a lost cause. You cannot do that. Do you understand the modality by which you say, I am looking for perfect, but everything is a lost cause? The modality by which we ascend is the modality by which we hold an energetic standard and say, this will not do. We can do better. We can do better. That is our energetic letter to the universe. The modality by which we hold ourselves energetically accountable, the space by which we articulate or amplify or recognize and build into that context is the space by which we energetically articulate upon the space by which we hold energetic meaning. And it's important, right? Because that is the difference between leniency and energetic forgiveness. Because forgiveness is the accountability that allows something to be energetically possible. But you cannot find forgiveness in the space of another who continually articulates that they're asking for leniency. Because leniency is the space that says, just forget it. Yes, will it happen again? Absolutely. And you should forgive you. You should forget that. when it happens. You should forget that when it happens. Forgiveness is not forgetfulness. The modality by which we understand that forgiveness is an act. It is not an act that we do. It is an act we receive. And when another person is asking for forgiveness, they are asking for the opportunity to do something better. They do not come towards us and say, just forget. Just forget that ever happens. Because when someone asks for forgetfulness and tries to claim as forgiveness, it will be, they will ask you to sweep it under the rug, and you will trip over it again and again and again, because what's under the rug keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger until it's becoming an necessary, an impossible obstacle. So that modality or experience by which we articulate and we resonate upon being able to see the difference, right? And this is the energy that says when we hold standards, you see the standard behind this energy, we can tell the difference between someone asking for leniency, just forget that ever happened, versus energy that says, give me the opportunity to do better. This is the gift that we have when we hold the standard. And this is why we let go of rejection. Because I guarantee you, when you hold a standard and you demand someone come into the space of energetic forgiveness, what will they say? I'm out of here. Right? They will say, I'm out of here. They will articulate that you're being unreasonable for having a standard. A healthy relationship will never require you to move away from your standards in order to move towards it. And healthy energy will do its best to protect those energetic standards as you yourself are responsible for articulating them. Continuing to get clarification, moving towards non-binary energy, can I please get 3 cards to clarify? And we will be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot for the heart space of the non-binary energy right now. We have here the 6 of Cups in its upright, the Magician in its upright, and we also have the 2 of Swords in its upright. So what are we identifying and recognizing that is occurring right now with a lot of that energy? This is a lot of the energy that is working through, and I keep on building into a sense or a state of proportionality. One thing I keep on hearing, steady. It's a lot of that energetic steady as they go kind of energy, because everything I keep on seeing here, and it's working through the gift that we do, the gift that we have in being our energetic, authentic self is understanding. And it's just the sad truth of it. When you are in your authenticity, never will you experience more of others' projections. I just identified, did I just explain to you what it's like for the energy that's too deep in their ego, right? What happens when energy is too deep in their ego? They hide this little part of themselves that's true. They say, I got to put this in the cupboard of myself. I can't actually be my true authentic self. This goes here now. And that little self is raging. It's trapped in there, and it's angry, and it's frustrated, and it sees others moving towards their authenticity. And instead of feeling celebratory, they say, how dare you? How dare you? The anger that comes from someone that is not in their authenticity, it is palpable. It is palpable. And it feels unreasonable. And the energy that is non-binary understands why. Because that is the sound of a soul that is energetically trapped in something that they feel that they cannot escape from. They feel like they cannot be their authentic self. They feel like they cannot find their authentic voice. And to see somebody operating in a state of joy, the pain that another must be in, to see somebody in the space of simply being happy, simply trying to share joy with the world around them, and the anger that comes from somebody who does not give that to themselves is one of the most awful things that you will ever encounter. And the worst part is when you understand that, you have to experience it and feel empathy for it at the same time. You have to hold the observation of understanding exactly the quality and experience of all of the hatred that energy can create and muster, but also understand the source, the true source of the reason why the energy that hates you the most desires to become you more than anything, but it doesn't make it energetically okay. And that modality and experience of working through, having to resolve through that type of projection is why we see that a lot of that energy works towards very careful boundaries in relationality to who they allow close to them. The experience by which they say that they understand that hate is literally love transmogrified. The space by which we don't understand our heart is often articulated in the moment that you say to someone, "Why do you hate that person so much?" And instead of an answer, someone says, "I don't know." We immediately know. We immediately know. The "I don't know" that tells us everything. The confusion in the heart space that is elicited by someone that does not do the work to understand their own heart. And this is why the energy says it is really important to navigate when you say, "I don't know," because that is the space by which you have to put that magnifying glass. That is exactly where the shadow work must go. Continuing to get clarification, moving towards the masculine energy right now. 3 cards, unconscious. We'll be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck. We've got here the Knight of Wands in its reversal, the Four of Wands in its reversal, the Queen of Swords in its upright. This is literally, and I feel like my heart goes out so much for the masculine energy doing this work right now. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. This is why we can't have nice things. This is literally the energy that I see and I feel like a lot of the energy of the masculine trying to work on this healing, navigating the space of personal responsibility, but also working through the space of feeling like it feels like Atlas energy, because it feels like the energy that says the harder that they try, the more it feels like they have to do it collectively, because the modality by which you feel often the sense by which you feel the responsibility of having to navigate the unhealed energy around you is often the energy that gets so frustrated because it goes, "You make my work harder." Because this is the energy that goes, not only can I not get through to counterpart, but my counterpart is terrified of me. Because when the unhealed energy is working more into the space by which they're trying to acute their counterpart, they're trying to make them smaller. They're trying to energetically protect them in the space by which they say they cannot be responsible for making energetic decisions. The healed masculine goes, "You make my ability to lift things even heavier because I have to carry you on my back as I try to move." That it makes everything harder in the context of trying to move something forward, because not only do I have to carry myself, but I have to carry the responsibility of every experience by which they have been hurt by you. And that is what's so difficult for a lot of that masculine energy, feeling that weight of and understanding the necessity of having to carry the weight, with the empathy of understanding that even in the modality by which they experience counterpart and counterpart is defensive, understanding the defensiveness for a reason, understanding the recognition of having to try to heal with an energy that has been hurt countless times over and over and over again, from a complementary energy that, instead of trying to look for an equal, looks towards them to serve an energetic demand. So for a lot of the energy, it's feeling that weight and doing it, and also feeling the additional effort of how hard it is, because even in the space by which they do it, they know the counterpart will doubt them because they have been hurt by those who have not come towards them with a healthy manifestation goal. A healthy manifestation goal is one that is mutually shared. And this is the energy that articulates, that says the working through the pain of masculine that has to heal in the space of feminine, having to recover from other energy, from other counterpart energy, or other energy by which they effectively articulated the space by which they had a false manifestation goal put before them. This is the work that feels like it creates that sense of the additional heavy lifting. Moving towards feminine energy right now. 3 cards, please, for the unconscious of feminine, and we'll be utilizing the Aquarian tarot right now for the unconscious space of the feminine. We've got here the 3 of Cups in its upright, the Moon card in its upright, and we also have here the Queen of Pentacles in its upright. So what are we effectively seeing for feminine right now? It's a lot of the work, and I want to stress this right now, and I need to point this out. There is absolutely no context, together or not at all. I'm going to say this again. I've been hearing it from feminine energy, together or not at all. Together or not at all. The modality by which you articulate, everything here is a gift. And the modality by which we understand that the space by which we work through the context of understanding that we have to articulate the space of working through our energetic frustration, but not feeling the sense of saying everything, like not feeling energetically oppositional, not allowing the context of particular individuals to inform us on the way that we look at a collective energy. I know how difficult it is. I know how difficult it is, but I need to articulate this to feminine energy doing this work. We let go of prejudice in relationality to race and creed and every other aspect. We need to do it the same way for gender. There is no modality by which you can articulate and say, you cannot say to another energy, I have abandoned hope in you. The modality by which we articulate and say you can do better is the energetic letter that we give to the universe. It is the space that says understand and recognize that these are the things that you need to do. And the way that we do that is by holding standards, not by energetically surrendering our hope in a whole portion of energy. We cannot do that. That is not the energetic way that we resolve through things. We understand and identify that when we work through that, it is the understanding that there are those that are energetically supportive of us. But the only way that grows is if we articulate and recognize that that is occurring. And I know how hard it is. I know how frustrating it can be in moments by which we feel a lot of those feelings that come up. But being able to help another see, allowing it not to be a modality by which we articulate, the help of understanding the space by which we work to educate and understand, the way that we work to amplify and articulate upon our perception to help another person build into the context of empathy. Non-binary energy right now, 3 cards, please, and we'll be utilizing the Tarot del Fuego for the unconscious of non-binary. We've got here the High Priestess in its reversal. Again, same energy that we see right now occupying the space of the masculine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. The Ace of Cups in its upright and the 6 of Cups in its upright. So we've got double 6 energy right now in the non-binary space. And that's important because that is working through the context of the energetic collective, the modality by which we understand. And I know what's hard about this energy, right? Because this energy makes us feel truly energetically isolated, right? This energy can feel very, very much like we are working in solitude. I keep on hearing the modality by which we're able to amplify and articulate upon that meaning is the space by which I keep on hearing. And it's very similar to what I saw. Like it's very similar to what I saw in the feminine space, together or not at all, which is the modality. And I keep on hearing like this is a lot of the energy of non-binary articulating upon the significance of sanctuary. And what do we talk about with sanctuary? And here's the thing about sanctuary. Sanctuary does not mean that you have to be energetically welcoming to everything. Sanctuary does not mean that you have to be energetically welcoming to everything. Because here's the thing about it, and it has to do with the modality of understanding the refinement point between emotions. There are those who will articulate that you have to honor their emotions, but they haven't done a single shred of work to honor their own emotions. Because when we honor our own emotions, we refine upon the emotions, and the emotions become refined because they have directions attached to them, right? The modality by which we are able to articulate and honor our own emotions. When we're truly honoring our emotions, honor means to know what the importance of what you're carrying. Just a reminder, just your daily reminder. An honor, the reason that we say it's an honor is because it's recognizing the importance of what you're carrying. It's literally the understanding of recognizing the importance. The only way you honor something, you don't just carry it, right? When you honor it, you understand the importance of what you're carrying. So that when someone says you have to honor my emotions, nobody has to honor your emotions but you. Nobody has to honor anyone's emotions until we honor our own. Because when we honor our emotions, what do we do with them? We tell each other the importance of what we're carrying. We go, listen, I've got these emotions. I've done the work. I've looked into them. I know why they're important. Here you go, right? You give them to each other with directions attached, but not in the space by which you say you have to honor my emotions because I feel them. Have you done any work to understand them? Nope. Have you done any work to not a bit. No, that's not someone asking you to honor their emotions. That's someone asking you to be responsible for their emotions. That's somebody asking you to be responsible for their emotions. We don't have to honor those who try to make their emotions others' responsibility. Nobody has to honor anybody who tries to make their emotions another person's responsibility because they're being careless with their emotions. They're being careless with those emotions. So the modality by which we recognize, I keep on seeing, this is the work that articulates and identifies the difference, right? That understands the slippery slope. I'm hearing they understand the slippery slope of too much empathy. And what is understanding the slippery slope of too much empathy? Understanding the slippery slope of too much empathy is worrying too much about being nice instead of having energetic meaning about things. There's no niceness. There's no niceness. And often bully energy, what will bully energy say? You're not being very nice right now. It's not about being nice. It's not about being nice. What gave you the confusion that courtesy is about niceness? Courtesy is about recognizing that we honor each other's energy and we are energetically responsible for it. And the modality by which we work towards understanding that is how we navigate situations with a sense of proportionality. So I see that for a lot of the energy right now, this is the energy that literally recognizes the fact that there is energy that holds anger towards them. And why does someone hold anger towards them? For an egoic reason. For someone saying, I didn't give them enough energy. Why? Because they articulate that I'm being selfish, but they never would go into detail as to why. Selfish energy often tells on themselves because the first thing they say is articulating to another that one is being selfish, but without explaining why. The modality by which we understand that we don't come towards each other in a demanding way, we understand the energetic courtesy by which we're effectively amplifying and articulating what we effectively aspire for. I keep on getting that this is the energy that works very hard, right? They work very hard to that. They hold themselves to a very high standard. But the hard part is that even in the space by which they hold themselves to a high standard, they recognize that even in that modality, they have to experience the weight of others' projections. Others' projections are not our responsibility unless they carry a grain of truth attached to them. But it still hurts, right? It still hurts when you see it. And I keep wondering, it hurts even more because how is it? It's one thing to hurt because you know that somebody's hurting you. It's another thing to hurt when you recognize that the reason someone's hurting you is because they're hurting themselves just as much. The modality of the hate that another person carries for others that often immediately illuminates the fact that they hate themselves. Bottom of the deck on this reading, masculine energy, 4 of Cups in its upright. And I feel like for a lot of the masculine doing this work, it's working through the energy of feeling like they have to shed lessons. Like this is the hardest thing for a lot of masculine energy, feeling the weight of having to do that work, but also feeling like some of that was because they felt like they were literally taught, right? There's nothing worse. There's nothing more damaging than to be taught to disassociate. How can you get stronger in something that you don't allow oneself to feel? The modality or the experience by which we recognize and identify that the worst thing you can ever teach someone is how to disassociate. Because when you teach them to disassociate, the inclination's there, right? I'd rather not feel this. You'll never get stronger, right? You can do that at any time. That's fine. You can turn them off, but you'll never get stronger doing that, will you? The best relationship you'll ever find will make you feel things that you've never felt before. And if you don't do the work, if you don't prepare yourself for that relationship by allowing yourself to feel all the things and recognize that you can be safe in feeling them, then you will find the thing you're looking for and you will run directly in the opposite direction, or you will treat them worse than you've ever treated another person. This is why we build towards the way that we build towards healthy relationship isn't trying to prepare ourselves to be appealing to each other. We prepare our hearts to welcome the space of a relationship that expands our hearts in ways that we've never thought possible. While for feminine, moving into the unconscious, we'll be utilizing the Tarot del Fuego for the heart space of feminine. Wheel of Fortune in its reversal in very close harmony to the non-binary energy. It's hard. I know. You're going to lay its standard down and someone's going to say you're not very nice for doing that. It's not about being nice. It's not about being accommodating. Whatever gave you the identification point that standards is messy work, right? Standard is messy work because it's the understanding of recognizing and identifying where we effectively stand. That's why it's called a standard. It's where you stand. It's where you hold your energetic ground. Our responsibility of finding strength is not about being likable or being sweet. It's the understanding of feeling energetically right. And I keep wondering, you have a right to your feelings. So long as, right? Again, as long as, and this is the important thing, the problem with our standards that we have to be wary about is our trauma loves to pretend it's our standards. Our trauma loves nothing more than to disguise itself as our standards, masquerading as our standards. And the way you can usually tell the difference between trauma in disguise and a standard is standards have reasons attached to them. Standards have reasons attached to them. There is logic to a standard. Trauma in disguise is illogical. It's because I said so. While for non-binary energy, unconscious space, we'll be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck, Empress in its reversal, right? This is energy that learned a long time ago that there's no pleasing anyone. That if you spend your life trying to please others, that is literally the best way to literally go mad. If you want the fastest path to madness, if you would like a direct flight straight to lunacy, if you would like to just go straight to to lunacy, might I suggest trying to please everybody? If you would like to just go straight there, because here's the thing, when someone's unhealed, they'll be completely irrational. We just articulated this. When somebody's unhealed, they are completely irrational. So if you're in the modality by which you're saying it's fine, I just need to work on pleasing everybody better, and you recognize that half the energy you're meeting is completely irrational because they themselves aren't healed, you understand very quickly that pleasing others, working to please everybody, is a very fast flight to crazy. It's going to drive yourself because you're going to be getting a bunch of different directions. Go left, go right, go up, go down. Now go this way. Now turn around. Now spin in a circle. Right? You cannot do it. It's not about comparison is the thief of joy. Don't worry about how other people feel about the self. You're gonna encounter energy by which you can literally say, I don't know why that person has a problem with me. I haven't done anything. Yeah, you're right. You're triggering them, right? The modality by which you just the sooner you come to terms with that, the sooner that you can energetically move on with your life. And I know how energetically difficult that is, right? The desire to be liked, it's strong, it's powerful. But the modality by which, and here's the thing about it, there's only one person that you should care about liking when you wake up every morning, and that's the person you see in the mirror. They're going to be with you the whole step of the way. You got to face that one. You got to face that person every single day. They're going to be there. And so this is the energy that works through the understanding that looking that person in the eye every day and saying, "Are we okay? Yeah, we're okay," is going to potentially upset some people. That's okay. Because if there's a modality by which you're not doing anything wrong beyond being your authentic self and another person has a problem with it, that sounds like a them problem. That sounds like a them problem. And I know it's not easy, but the more that we're able to do that, the sooner that we do that, the sooner that we help others recognize when they're doing it. The sooner that we start doing that, the sooner that we make others help recognize when they're doing it. Because awfully, the worst part is some energy doesn't even realize they're doing it. I know, that's the worst part. The more you condone something, the harder it is for another person to see that there's something wrong. The more you condone something, the harder you are doing someone a disservice in condoning something, because you're not, when we care about each other, we help each other by guiding each other in the space by which we can do something energetically better. And that's also a gift to ourselves, because if there's something that's bothering us about another person, but we can't exactly figure out find the words to explain it, I got some good news for you, my friend. You just uncovered some shadow work you have to deal with. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site, so I would encourage you to do it there. A couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone who attended our recent tarot class on the Judgment card. Our next class will be held on Thursday, January 15th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the World card, the final card in the major arcana. If you would like to become a part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. As a monthly subscriber, you will have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive. It's not necessary to catch up. I'll be doing my best to give you an update on everything we've studied prior to beginning that next class, but the material is there to receive as you're ready to receive it. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything we've learned and studied thus far. And if you become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of readings, but you will also have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive. And you will also have access to a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage, moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I tried to do with these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my Mystic Meditation articles there, which will give you updates on what we've been seeing energetically in the cards. Just wrote one recently on this full moon that we just navigated. You can also go there to learn more about a very special retreat that I'll be hosting this August that I would like to invite you to join me with. We will be traveling to Italy to study the tarot in the birthplace by which the tarot was first documented to be discovered, sharpening our tarot skills as we tour the country. We will be traveling to Tuscany, Rome, and Florence, and everyone who participates in that retreat will not only be receiving one-on-one class work with me on the tarot during the trip, but you'll also be available to receive a complimentary mentorship class as well. Those who sign up this month will also be receiving a $200 discount, so please make sure if you'd like to secure your spot that you sign up sooner rather than later. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path, you can learn all about that over on my stack. I would also like to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for those students that are seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or biweekly, as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. Also, for my students that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I offer weekly tarot insight packages. These can be purchased. These are a package of 4 discounted readings, again, weekly or biweekly, as your schedule permits. And also, I would like to let you guys know that I also offer dream interpretation readings, which you can purchase per dream or as a series. If you purchase the series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or biweekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.